You may remember Pekin woman Allison Salinas for a previous Senate run or for a 25 News investigation into Busy Bee's Bakery. Well, today a judge started the process to determine if she will stay in jail or not until her murder for hire trial. 48-year-old Allison Salinas was arrested Tuesday and charged with solicitation of murder for an alleged murder for hire plot in June. Today in court, prosecutors filed to keep Salinas in jail, but they, the defense, and the judge agreed more time was needed to review evidence. Salinas was the owner of Busy Bee's Bakery in Pekin, in which 5 of its employees claimed they were not paid for their work. She also ran as a Republican for U.S. Senate against Democratic U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth, but she did not appear on the 2022 primary ballot. Salinas is back in court for her detention hearing tomorrow morning at 11:30.